Welcome in, everyone, to the Unnamed Fantasy Football Show. Lisa Matthews here with you, Zach Galia and Felipe Corral. And guys, drum roll, without making too much noise, we have our championship matchup. And it feels so good to say that, yes,
and one of us is not in that championship match.
One of the three of us is not going to be playing for the ship. But, hey, you made it so far.
Ugh.
Yeah, after a great season. You don't want to talk about it?
No, I'm okay. I mean,
I think I would have liked to sucked all year and not made it that far.
No, I mean, I had a good team. I did, I guess, not as well as I should have, but 10-2 is not bad. Semifinals, but
yeah.
And a loss.
Yeah,
and
it's
the
still
loss
not.
to Felipe. Let's take a look at that scoreboard there in the semis that got us to where we are here today, Felipe. Joan,
my gosh.
That was just a easy, little breezy win for Felipe.
I think by halftime of the Cardinals game, I was just cruising.
You were already celebrating.
I was just, I wasn't stressing out or anything, but.
I was up by, I think, 80 by
Really?
the end of Sunday. Yes.
I saw it was 140 to 43 at one point.
Yeah.
Your matchup.
Yeah,
That's the crazy part. I was
Well, I mean, if you look at it, no matter how you sliced it, I still would have lost.
Exactly.
If it was me against you, Lisa, I would have
can't
lost.
complain.
And if it was me and Felipe,
You're the
of course
commish. You
not.
make the rules, bro.
You made the rules
for
for everyone to make the playoffs.
I
A
know.
4-8 record. In this
Hopefully.
case, Lisa made it to the championship.
Everyone
sure
loves
did.
the Cinderella story.
Applause for Zach. You
Well,
owe Zach something, Lisa.
But no, listen, it's not like
Applause for Zach.
I drafted a crappy team. It's just guys weren't showing up until week 8 for me, maybe.
Hey,
but I stuck with it.
You just
and
got to get to the dance.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You even look NFL playoffs. As long as you get in the playoffs,
Yeah.
anything could happen. So
I think you
Thanks,
and
guys.
Kyle came to some agreement because he traded you Zeke.
I know.
I mean, who trades Zeke
And
like
Zeke's
that?
been going off for me, so.
Yeah,
In
like
fact,
31 points.
He
last
was
season.
in the weekly top 10 of scores this week, so taking a look at that, we have a Cardinal player at the top,
Atta
Kenyon
boy.
Drake, 39.6 points. Obviously, we know he had those 4 touchdowns in the win over the Browns, and he really just couldn't be stopped against the Browns. Rushed 22 times for 137 yards, and we'll get more into, what this week is going to look like and going forward. Obviously, if you're still paying attention to fantasy football, it's because you're in the championship, so it's kind of safe to say that he would be a start in this week's matchup. But
well, I mean, and just looking at his stats there, it's like he hasn't been around for a long time, and there are only really 2 games that you can point out where it was like, oh, he absolutely destroyed it. But I mean, just looking at his point total there, it's 20th ranked running back in all of fantasy football, and that's basically just off of what he did in Arizona because he didn't have many stats.
Right.
That's what I was
Much
trying
of
to
Is
many
Zach
stats.
still
Much
kind of
many
struggling because he
stats.
lost in the
I know.
semis?
It's been a rough
just blame
time.
it on that.
But let's be honest. Leading up to week 15, how many of you could have said, I started Kenyon Drake with confidence?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's true.
in the 2 weeks that he went off against San Francisco on Thursday Night Football, and even last week, I doubt people were like, okay, he's a cowbell running back. I'm gonna start him. He's a for sure start. I mean, there's those doubts and all that. I mean, including myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
So-
I can admit that he was on my bench in my other league.
Yeah, me too.
Put up
That's the only
39
reason I'm
points.
saying that because I had him in one of my benches.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, taking a look at the next highest score, Julio Jones, 38.4 points, 13 of 20 targets for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns during Sunday's 29-22 win over the 49ers. Now, he hauled in that touchdown pass in overtime to win the game. No, I'm sorry, was it overtime? It was the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, late in the fourth quarter. So he was limited in Wednesday's practice due to a shoulder injury. So we'll see what happens on the report later on today. But yeah, 38 points, just a solid outing for him, and just actually a surprise win too over the 49ers.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, it's they're the Jekyll and Hyde of this year for sure. There's some weeks where it doesn't even look like they show up, and other weeks they knock off some of the top teams in football. So, they've done it to the 49ers, they did to the Saints, and I mean, who knows? You never know what team's coming the next week.
Exactly. Run CMC, your guy Felipe.
My boy,
Take
just
it.
imagine carrying the ball 19 times and seeing 10 targets out of the backfield. I mean, it's just a dream come true. I mean, I wake up every morning, especially when I played against Zach, and I'm like,
You wake up every morning thankful.
Thankful. I'm blessed. I have
Prayers
CMC.
There's a little run CMC doll at the top of your Christmas
He
tree.
surpassed those 2,000 yards from scrimmage ahead of Week 16, averaging 5 yards per carry. 5 yards per carry.
416 points.
Wow.
This
I
year.
mean, it's just
No doubt, right? Can we all agree MVP of this fantasy football
of course.
year?
I mean,
There's
I know so many people that are in championships that probably, they have Christian McCaffrey. I think he's the formula.
Yeah, I would say like 75% of teams in the championship have either him or Lamar Jackson.
right? So prayers up for me this week with going up against
I mean,
him,
you have Zeke, and he's waking up at the right time.
Yeah.
So
But
that'll be a
still,
good
like,
matchup.
94 catches on top of everything he does from the backfield. Like
18 touchdowns.
It's basically my entire team versus Christian McCaffrey this
Basically.
yeah.
We shall see. I mean, another guy that you can kind of put, I mean, he's obviously Run CMC is first ranked player in fantasy football, but you can also put Lamar Jackson in the MVP conversation there. He had 37 points last week, went off on Thursday Night Football against the Jets, and obviously a record-breaking performance, surpassing Michael Vick's single season rushing record as a quarterback. So just amazing stats all year long for him. MVP in the real world and fantasy world, to be honest.
So, question.
Answer.
Is it CMC or Lamar Jackson as fantasy MVP because you only play one quarterback a week? You could potentially play 3 running backs a week. So how does that stack into your MVP vote?
I think in terms of value, you would value someone like CMC. I mean, there's so many valuable quarterbacks in fantasy football that can put 18 points up on the board. Like, I have Carson Wentz in this league, and he gives me a good 17, 18 points. But I mean, the argument you can make for Lamar is that people probably picked them up from waivers week 2, week 3 or something.
Draft
them.
People probably didn't even draft them. So
I mean, the formula really, when you're drafting, is quarterback after. I mean, I don't do it until
it's pretty late.
4 or 5.
Something like that.
rounds.
I didn't do it till like the 10th round.
Yeah, it's always a late pick, but this is a guy that, I mean, who was it? I think it was Jarecki who picked Patrick Mahomes in the third or fourth round.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is a guy that I can imagine people kind of making that early pick just to make sure that they secure him in next year's draft.
True. Yeah, I mean, and at the same time, like, in our draft, like, McCaffrey went 3? Or was it 3?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's going super high. Like, I think I picked Deshaun Watson in the 7th or 8th round, and I think he's like the 4th or 5th ranked player in fantasy. So I guess you're getting a lot more value from the quarterbacks because of where you pick them, or if you just snag Lamar Jackson off the waivers, which is incredible. But, it seems like the higher pedigree for the top running backs going so high in the draft.
Miles Sanders, 35.2 points. Hello, Brashard Perryman, 34.6 points. Welcome to the top 10 for him. Just an outburst of a performance in Week 15.
I just picked him up literally
I'm
30
sure
minutes
you
before.
Did.
Yeah, because I have Chris Godwin. He's
Exactly.
out.
Yeah,
with the
Godwin's
hammy.
on the shelf, so that's a good pickup. And he'll obviously have a much higher target share against the Texans this week. Going down to Jameis Winston here. This guy, I mean, must start to me because he has,
crazy.
Right now, if you're in the championship, you're going with the hot hand, and he for sure has the hot hand right now.
It's a question of consistency for him because when Jackson started him, it was during his quarterfinal matchup, and he had like less than 15 points or something like that.
Yeah, 10.72.
Yeah, so in my head, obviously, if you have him in one of your leagues, I wouldn't start him.
You
surprisingly.
wouldn't?
No.
Wow.
He's without Mike Evans, Chris Godwin,
That's
Scott
true.
Miller.
Yeah.
A lot of his weapons are gone.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to game plan against him. But, Bruce Arians is going to throw the ball, so.
But, yeah, he's coming off 2 games, 34.74 points against the Colts and 32.72 points against the Lions. So can he maintain a 30-point clip, for the 3rd straight week? I don't know. Houston's defense isn't nothing to shake your head at. So
Right.
it's definitely tough. And, granted, if you've ridden Jameis Winston to the championship, I'd roll with him.
That's what I'm
just
saying.
in the off chance. But, But yeah, I mean,
He has
it's
a hot
it's
hand.
definitely going to be a lot tougher this week without Godwin, without
Well,
Mike
the Texans
Evans.
defense has allowed the 4th most passing touchdowns to a quarterback this season. So
Yeah.
I say roll with him.
Yeah.
He's going off.
I would say so.
Zeke Elliott, 31 points. My guy carried the ball 24 times for 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 of 4 targets for 43 yards in Sunday's 44-21 win over the Rams. Another kind of surprising performance or win against the Rams, and they're kind of just up and down, those Rams. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's now back-to-back 2 touchdown performances for Elliott. So keep feeding Zeke.
Yeah, they finally
please.
figured out the formula for Zeke.
Yeah.
I mean, when in doubt, give the ball to Zeke. I mean, it's that simple, you know.
I was going to say, I don't think it's a very difficult formula.
No.
I don't know.
I don't
know why they made it so
long.
difficult.
Why did they do that
Like,
earlier?
why did
I mean,
it
it's
take
the
so long
Cowboys
to
at the end
figure
of the
out?
day.
Hey, but it gave me the
That's true.
opportunity because Kyle was like, hey,
Here
know
you go.
what?
That's
Here
what I'm
you go.
saying. I feel
Hand
like
it
you
out.
and Kyle, like, don't you feel, Zach, like they just talk behind the
No, I mean,
behind
You
the
know
scenes?
what?
Well,
Do not call me shady. And
Kyle and I had a trade too, and I don't think it worked for either of us. So it's not as if that was the only trade he made. So I'll allow it.
I think at that point that it was just a perfect trade timing for Zeke Elliott. People were not high on him.
Right. It's
I
true.
still have
I mean,
some
it's
hope.
crazy to think someone wasn't high on him.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
shade at Kyle, by the way.
Yeah.
Let him know I said that.
Kyle,
All
if you're
right,
listening.
let's go down to Michael Thomas there. 30.8 points for him, and as expected, a solid performance in the blowout win for
Yeah,
them.
my
12
goodness.
catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown in the Saints' 34-7 win over the Colts. Heading into week 16, look at those numbers there. 133 catches, total fantasy points 335. Solid.
Yeah,
solid.
he's breaking all sorts of records. Like
Yeah.
Like his quarterback.
Yeah, like Drew
Just
Brees
like
is Drew Brees is doing some things, but Michael Thomas, I feel like he catches at least 10 to 12 balls a game, and it just blows my mind.
I mean,
Very good pickup.
he's the only
Specimen.
receiver in fantasy football that's targeted over 30% of his routes, 31 to be exact. So it's just crazy, you know.
Give him that 31.
When we talk about the formula when you draft, it's never, you know, select a wide receiver with one of your top 5 picks. But I mean, you can make a case for Michael Thomas. You know, he's been killing it.
I took I forget what pick I had. I think I had like the 8th pick or something like that. But I was deciding between Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins, and I ended up going with D Hop, which
It's not.
has
That's
been
not bad.
which is a great pick, but I still think, you know,
If you had the
Thomas
chance to
was-
pick Thomas with
I
your
mean,
8th pick, I'm just It's a
maybe.
steal.
I mean, I totally would if Hopkins wasn't there, and I think like I also picked Watson, like Deshaun Watson, later in the draft, so having both of them together was good for my team. But yeah, I mean, looking back at it, if I had D Hop or Michael Thomas, it's probably Michael Thomas.
you would have beat me.
Ooh.
Nah, I don't think
Let
I
it
would.
burn.
You don't think you would have beat me?
Nah, I don't think so.
Let it burn. Okay,
No.
let's take a look at these Cardinals players and how they looked in Week 15. We already kind of went through Kenyon Drake, and my question is, though, I mean, is he a for sure start this week if you're in the championship?
I think so. I mean, you've seen him get the ball quite a few times in the last few weeks, and you can tell that he's definitely the lead dog in the backfield. So, I mean, the Seattle matchup's not great, but if anyone is going to score from the backfield, it seems to be him. And now that I just said that, Chase Edmonds or David Johnson's going to have 30 points this week. So,
That's what happens, right? In fantasy, you say,
Matthew
"Oh, start this
Berry.
guy," and then
yeah, as
you
soon
know.
as you think that you know what's going on, something's going to change. So I think, I mean, if I have him on my team, I'm playing him this week, unless you're just flush with running backs. But
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I'd call him a top 10 running back, but he's definitely probably in the top 15 to 20.
I mean, I feel like, and you guys can allude to this. I feel like Arizona always plays pretty good at Central League Field, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
He's converted over 50% of his 23 red zone touches. So, I mean, as a flex, if it's a for sure start, it has to be as a flex. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not at the point where you can start him as a RB1 or RB2. Don't
Sure.
depend on him to win you your league.
Right.
But he's definitely a solid flex play for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
just because you know the volume's going to be there. I think that was
Right.
the big question for us these past few weeks since that big breakout performance from him against San Francisco was, okay, well, how is this backfield going to look? I think they've shown what it's going to look like, and that's Kenyon Drake carrying the ball. So now the volume or opportunities is not really in question here.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, if you're, just like Felipe said, if you need like 10 or 12 points from your flex, I think Kenyon Drake will get you that. And then kind of the upside from there is he has a game like he did last week, or he has a game like he did against San Francisco, and then you're swimming.
Yeah. Going down to quarterback Kyler Murray, who had 16.36 points. Really a bounce back performance for him after the past 2 weeks. But going into this game, guys, higher or lower? He scored 15 points last time they met the Seahawks in week 4.
Yeah.
What are you projecting for him?
I think higher, just because how he performed last time we played Seattle. Had a rough game, had a pick 6. Kind of having that bounce back after having a couple more rough games, and then bouncing back this past week. I think he's kind of going to build off of that. And, I mean, I would say 20-ish points, give or take a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in his bag right now. I mean, he's in his redemption mode. I mean, obviously you mentioned it when they first faced off. He didn't do that well. He's playing against Russell Wilson. It's like a statement game for him. He's the only quarterback with over 3,000 passing yards and 500 rushing yards. And, I mean, in fantasy, that's what you value, right?
Yeah.
Having a dual threat, whatever position, running back, quarterback. And in this case, Kyler Murray, obviously. So, again, he's in his bag. I think he's going to have a great game, in my opinion. And, hey, start him.
Yeah, I think definitely start him, especially if you're in the championship. I think he'll get you enough points to hopefully solidify that win for you. And then Seattle's defense, they did sack him 4 times last time they met. They haven't met that or surpassed that since. So sacks are hard to come by. I don't think that's something to really worry about, knock on wood, this week. Now, did you have something to say?
I mean, I was going to say, this offensive line played pretty well last week. They didn't allow a sack. Obviously, Kenyon Drake went off, so you can have confidence.
There's elements in there, too. We're going to CenturyLink. It's loud on the road. I mean, you hope the communication, obviously, now in Week 15, they can get past that because there's always communication errors when you're on the road in a loud, very, very loud environment.
Well, and you saw, like, the second time that the offense and played the 49ers. There were adjustments that were made, got out to a big lead. It didn't end the way we wanted it to, but, you've already seen this opponent once. Kyler knows what to expect. The offense kind of knows what to expect. So I think you can add a couple wrinkles in there. And I mean, you have to deal with that, whatever weather we might have to deal with in Seattle, as well as that noise. But I think it's just like Felipe said, he's in it. He's got his mindset, like he's ready to finish strong, and I think he will. Yeah.
Demir Bird sighting.
There you go.
I've used that like 5 times.
Who started him?
No one.
I should have started Demir Bird.
Yeah, you should have. 14.6 points for him, 6 catches, 86 yards. Really just a breakout performance, a guy that's kind of been in and out of, the lineup and active list, and he's just been waiting for this opportunity. And when given the opportunity, he definitely showed what he can do. He broke 2 defenders off of his back for a 51-yard catcher, and I think this is the play here.
Yep.
Wow. Jeez.
Give me that. Yeah. Give me that. And he's only like 5'7", too.
Yeah.
So.
Right? Well, I could do that. No, he's
it
very fast.
Hope, right?
He told me in our interview yesterday that he was like he's saying he's faster than Kyler and Andy, and I said I want to see this, but he grew up running track, and he went to Japan even and ran track, came in second for the U.S. So he's just a speedster, and that's what you kind of expect for him. Just getting those opportunities obviously is something that have been hard to come by with all the different, weapons and guys are just trying to look at, and young guys. And so it's kind of tough for him, but he's definitely hoping that this is something that can jumpstart him and give him confidence, and the Cardinals give him confidence too.
Well, and Demir Bird's performance is a reason why the Cardinals offense is exciting for fantasy owners, but also insanely frustrating.
Just a headache
because, I mean, guaranteed, if you're starting any receiver on that board right now, it's either Christian Kirk or it's Larry Fitzgerald. And then you see a guy like Demir Bird go off, or Pharaoh Cooper, or, I mean, Dan Arnold has a touchdown. Charles Clay gets one the other week. So it's like there's so many options, and you never quite know where to go with it. So, the starts, especially as a wide receiver, are tough You know, especially with this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they hired Cliff Kingsbury, everybody was talking about, oh, this is a fantasy friendly, without necessarily knowing what it's gonna look like. So I guess
it is fantasy friendly. Like, you're always seeing points. It's just not the person you expected. Right. You get the free agent guys, and then you're like, oh,
not the guys.
Why didn't I play Pharaoh Cooper, who had 19 catches today?
Yeah, hoping next season, obviously, we'll get more into this on the final show, but just there's 3 solid 1, 2, 3 receivers that you can count on, that you're going to get the points as far as fantasy and real life goes for that. Christian Kirk, 10 points. I mean, the Seahawks allow tons of receiving yards, 4th most in the league. So I suspect Christian and Larry to have a bump in those numbers going forward in week 15.
I mean, he's dealing with the ankle issue right now. So, I mean, that might discourage you in some regard, but I feel like these receivers, especially Larry Fitzgerald, just love playing.
Yeah, they're going to keep playing
Seattle.
through.
Yeah. It's one of
yes.
You hear Fitzgerald always talking about how he loves that atmosphere and motivates him a little bit more. So I think that's a good reason to start someone like Larry Fitzgerald. I mean,
I think flex.
As a flex, especially as he's a slot receiver,
yeah.
So Seattle's not necessarily that well right now covering slot receivers. So you mix all these elements into one bag, and he's in his bag too.
Another guy, Dan Arnold. Hey, hello.
Yeah. Hey, Arnold. Yeah,
pick him up, Lisa.
Guaranteed next week, someone that's not on this board will be on the board with like
yes.
13.5 points.
You see Max Williams on there.
Do not give me advice, Mike. I do not trust anything out of your mouth this week.
You should start David Johnson.
Definitely.
RB2.
Yeah, he was my first
round pick.
Hey, you're in the championship. Don't worry about it.
I'm smiling. Well, good luck, Felipe. Not. We'll see who wins. Who's the survivor next week here
What should be the trophy? I mean, or is it a belt?
I'm going all out. We're gonna figure this out, but
yeah. So
there might be a parade.
The way we set it up is whoever wins gets to decide what the trophy is, or belt, or crown. I think Lisa was talking
Crumble
about.
Cookies,
so
in my opinion.
Whatever it might be, we'll make sure you get to see it at some point on the show. But
can't wait.
But yeah, may the best man or woman win.
Woman.
Too far.
There you go.
That was close enough.
All right, everyone. Well, best of luck to you if you're in the championship this week. We hope to see you next week. Have a good one.